Okay, so we're going to shift gears now, and what we're going to look at is we're going to look at a roof like this, where you have a house that has a dormer in the middle of the roof. And we're going to look at finding the area of a roof like this. So I'm going to attempt to draw this out. You guys are fully aware of my artistic talents, so don't be disappointed. Okay, so here's what we have. We're going to give this thing a span of 40 feet. We're going to give it a peak length of 56 feet. This here we're going to give a width of 18 feet. The main roof is going to have an 8-12 slope. The dormer is going to have a 12-12 slope. I want to find the area of the roof. I'm going to do an estimate on shingles. I want to find it as accurately as I can. In order to be accurate, I want to add in the length of ridges. If you're using an estimating formula, you got a formula where you would add in so much for the ridges, for ridge caps, and length of valleys. And then, of course, area. So anyway, first thing I want to find is the slope of the roof here. Of course, I've got to use my half span of 20 feet. I got to find H here. 8 over 12 equals H over 20, which is 13.33, correct? Yes? No? Okay. Now then, to find the length of the slope, it will be the square root of 20 squared plus 13.33 squared. Which will give us 24.04 feet. So that means this is 24.04 feet on this side as well. Now we've already got a considerable amount of our area done here. I'm going to take 24.04 times 56 times 2. Now again, I used the number from the calculator. I did not punch back in 24.04, so mine might be a little off from yours. 2691.94. That is square feet. Now that includes the area that's underneath that dormer. Now this dormer is setting on top of a portion of the roof. The part that's underneath there is not going to need to be roofed. This little triangle right here is not going to need to be roofed at all, because underneath the dormer. So we'll be able to subtract that area back out again. So let's look at our dormer. So we need to find out, first of all, how much do we subtract back out for that triangle on the roof that does not need shingles on it, that the dormer is going to sit on top of. So we're going to figure out that area to subtract out next. Do you understand what I'm talking about? So what we need to do is we need to find, we know that the width of that is 18 feet. We need to know the height of it. Its height is going to come off of this end view here, right? So I've got to find this length right here is going to be the height of that triangle. So I first need to know the height of this out here. It's 18 feet. I've got a run of 9 feet. It's a 12-12 slope, correct? Can anybody tell me the height without typing, without? 9. There we go. So this is 9 feet high, so that makes this 9 feet high. What I need to figure out now is how far this setback is going to be to get 9 feet of height on a 8-12 slope. So 8 over 12 equals 9 over, I'll call this here Z for my setback. So 12 times 9 divided by 8 will give us 13.5 feet. Now Z is 13.5 feet. Now that's also very important because that's also going to be our ridge length up here. So if I go back up here, I now know the length of this piece of ridge. Guess what? I know my total ridge. 56 plus 13.5 gives me 69.5 feet of total ridge. I'd probably estimate it at 70 feet of ridge. So back down here, I can now find this length by doing the square root of 9 squared plus 13.5 squared. (16.22 feet). So what that means is the triangle that's cut out there is 18 feet wide and 16.22 feet long. So 16.22 times 18 divided by 2 gives us an area of 145.98 that is subtracted out. So that comes up to what, 45.96 square feet now? So that is the area of the main roof after we've subtracted out the triangle. So now what do we have to add back in? The two triangles for the dormer. I need to know this length now. That length, of course, will be the square root of 9 squared plus 9 squared. Which is 12.73 feet. Correct? So that area of the triangle there will be 12.73 times 13.5. Divided by 2 because it's a triangle, then of course times 2 because there's one on the other side. So I'm just not going to bother dividing by 2. I get 171.83. So 2,717.79 square feet is my roof area. I need my length of valleys yet, don't I? How do I find the length of that valley? Well, that's 13.5. This was 12 point what? 73. That's going to be the square root of 13.5 squared plus 12.73 squared, correct? Gives me 18.56 feet on each. So I'll multiply by 2. 37.11 feet of valley. Again, estimated probably 38 feet of valley. What do you think? Not too bad at all, huh? What if I wanted to know this angle here? Well, 12.73, 13.5. Can I find that angle? You bet. That's the inverse tangent of 12.73 over 13.5. (43.32 degrees). What do you think? All this stuff coming together, making sense, giving you that warm, fuzzy feeling inside. You get confused, Mike. You got her? You're just used to being confused. Default mode. Okay. The next thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about hip rows. Finding some angles, like what's the angle up here in this angle here? What's this angle over here? We're going to figure out how to calculate those angles. So let's take a peek. I'll pretend I can draw a hip roof here. It's not too horrible. So let's say that this is, we're going to go unconventional right away just for the fun of it. So let's say this is 812, this is 412. We'll give this a span of 40 feet. This a length of 60 feet. I want to know this angle, this angle, this angle, this angle. The 4 angles. I also want to know the length of the ridge. Also want to know length of the slope here, length of the slope here. If I find those things, finding the area should be easy, correct? Sure? Okay. Now I put those red lines in there strategically because that's where I'm going to want to do a lot of calculating. So I'm going to look at first here is I'm going to look at this thing here. It goes out both directions here. I'm going at that corner there. I'm going to draw it straight down. And what I'm drawing here is this triangle. It is this slope, this red line right here. This one is that. So I know this bottom here is 20 feet, half of this, right? And this is a 412 slope, which makes this a 6.67 foot height. 4 over 12 equals h over 20. Cross multiply and divide will give you 6.67. Okay? Now while I'm at it, I just as well find this length because that's one of the pieces I want. That'll be the square root of 6.67 squared plus 20 squared. $21.08. Next, I'm going to look at this one here. What I know about that one is, do I know it's set back down here? No, I don't. But I know it has to be 6.7 feet high. And it's got a slope of 812. So if I do 8 over 12 equals 6.67 over that setback, I get that this is 10 feet. Do you see how to get to 10 feet? So once we get that that's 10 feet, I can now find this length, which is one of the things we need. It is the square root of 10 squared plus 6.67 squared. $12.02. Now that we have all that, the angles are pretty simple. Oh, by the way, what's my ridge length? I had 10 feet off of here. That means I'll have 10 feet off of there. That better be 40 feet. Down here now to find this angle, I'm going to find half of it first. I'm going to use that triangle that I just highlighted to find half of that angle. This is 12.02. That's what I just calculated here. This is 20 feet. Half of my 40. Which makes this the inverse tangent of 20 over 12.02. 58.99. Now the real angle I'm looking for is double that, so I'm just going to double it. Times 2, 117.99. So this angle here, 117.99 degrees. Questions? Now for this angle here, I'm going to find just this piece first, which is going to be the 2108 and the 10-foot setback. So to find that angle, that's just going to be the inverse tangent of 10 divided by 21.08. .38 degrees. Do I double it? No, I add 90. Why do I add 90? Because that was this angle. This here's 90 degrees. So that whole thing is 115.38 degrees. How do I find this angle? Well, I can use what I had here with my 90 degrees. I can do that, the complement of what that half angle was. Same here. This is going to be the complement of what I had here for the 25.38. What do you guys think? It's just a matter of seeing the triangles and finding the pieces and knowing where to start and how you can progress with it. Because without a certain piece of information, you can't go very far. So you got to know that you got to find that piece first. Then where that will take you, and then how you get from there to your answer.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
That's the hard part. Doing the calculations is the easy part.
So how do you...
Just keep trying stuff.
I don't know where to start.
Basically, what you do is you find a right triangle and figure out what it can tell you. Sometimes it can't tell you anything past what you already know because you don't know enough about that triangle. So find a different triangle. When you're dealing with roofs, generally you're going to be using that height, that slope factor, to find a height, or using it, if you have a height, you're going to use it to find a run. But you'll always have that roof slope to work with. Okay, well, you're going to have a couple of worksheets to work on for the weekend here, so let me grab those for you.